Hey, looks like we're live. I've never done a live stream around this time, so figured I'd just jump on, see who's out there. It's Sunday, right? It is too. Let's see. Big, big end of month closes. Huge end of month closes. Haha, good evening. Yeah, I figured this is probably a better time to jump on and do a live stream. But I'm just kind of excited for this. Might have finally seen a really big hold level and trend get established. Yeah, it's like 4:16 here in the afternoon, so pre-dinner. This could be the thing that kicks off that move into 76 or bigger. Probably should have turned that off. Look at them all, a lot of levels. Okay. So this is not up to date. It's based off a snapshot, but that looks like that opened over top of that trend, and we then got a pretty good pump, the kind of pump you don't see off daily levels. So it's very possible we just created a 7-month trend to hold move, which if we did, it means that we should come up sort of minimum, hit that 74 level. But of course, once we hit these levels, there's also a pretty good chance that we then come down. So that's the bad news. But good news is this might be that rally that we've finally been waiting for, and once we push up into the bigger resistance and reject off and come down to complete those final shorts, then it should be time to start consolidating for bear market in the next bull run. Also, we created some massive structure today, which was sorry, we haven't created it, we've started it. So I think it was something in here. Doesn't technically exist yet. It's this, but this is big. Might be the first time I've seen a 405k potential topside range appear for BTC. So countdown begins, 639 days to get down below, or sorry, get up above all-time high. So it's a pretty reasonable amount of time. And then if so, can push up from there. Let's have a look at. So areas that could possibly be problematic. We've got 2-month close today, which we've bounced off this trend that's running through here. Got first sort of signs of horizontal resistance will be in around that 13476. So we might push up into that and reject off there, or obviously the downtrend is still there. At the absolute most bullish side of things, we haven't actually retested the interior trend since it was broken, and it kind of lines up now with the current candle and the exterior trend, so be pretty bullish for it to push all the way up there, but it's got 2 months. So yeah, could get as high as that 161 area. There's a lot going on here, but looks like we've touched the backside of that trend there now. So any time hereafter could be resistance. What else? Dailies just tapped a break level from the looks of it. Then we got that first touch of that range trend just up here. So if we close over top of that range trend on the day, which could mean we go up, reject down off it, come back up even, but tomorrow if it closes above there, that's quite good. You know, break a downtrend, closing above supports. So if this candle stays yellow, it'll be a hard close of the break level down here as well. So might get a bit of continuation on the rally. And that would enable it to test this break. So if it closes up here, because we've already tested the hold, so it's looking not so bad. But it is obviously very early in the day, and it's the kind of thing you typically see is if it's going to be a trap, it usually just starts off really early with a bullish run in one direction or a bearish run in one direction, and then reverses within the 24 hours. That played out real fast. Straight rejection off the range trend, straight down to the range trend. Chucked that in Discord earlier. I said pop quiz. Where's this going? Here. So now it's a case of does it end up recovering or closing under. This candle here too, being a accumulation candle, this thing can actually create a definite pump for risk assets, because if it closes under that wick and under that range trend, and it would be back underneath the prior broken trend if it did that, and it is a break of all of these support trends. If it does all of that in one instance, it's almost certainly going to come down. So that's pretty cool. That could be a pump for risk assets. Or by the end of tomorrow, it's going to look very different to this. End of today, I should say. Time zones. And then we've got weekly. So weekly close, we're looking for an engulfment, reversing of a level. If we can close under a range level, even better. Still got reason to come down, but it is actually better to not come down today so much as it is to get under the trend, because the backside of a trend can break a horizontal level, so it could actually break back into that lower range by using the backside of the trend. So it either has to just go nuts and come all the way down, get in here under 68, or if it's going to do it a bit more systematically, it could do it by even where it is now. Lower the better. And it's hard to tell if this is a troll or not, because it really did just close on the line, which, yeah. But either way, it's not a break of the range trend, so coming back down, it is a hard close of the 68.92, so we could come down, retest that, and then have a bounce. So this is where things can get a bit dicey, is that you got a month on this, so it can come all the way down here, come through those levels, and then come back later in the month. But once it goes below this level, being a hard closed broken level, I'd say you'd want to be a little bit skeptical about a reversal. So yeah, there's a lot of levels you can just basically put alerts on, and you'll get confluence. Even this is just trappy from the beginning, so it's opened in just the worst place possible on the daily, pumped up, but it hasn't really run into any kind of horizontal resistance up there yet, so it may be looking to hold here longer, keep the trend, get continuation. Certainly closes over these higher levels would be a bit more bullish tomorrow, closing over these breaks. Not touching the breaks is quite bearish because they'll become origin levels if we don't touch those breaks. So I want to see a little bit more pump today. If we can get a little bit more pump, then at least we stop these from becoming higher time frame resistance in the meantime. But this one up here already is. So it's going to have a little bit more pump to be medium term bullish, close over that 2.12 to be longer term bullish. The fight is on. Okay, so with the monthly close today, so I was looking at this on the weekly, and so 2.24 and 2.26, these levels up here have never had their retest. So if you just think of these as break levels, because that's what they are, break and origin levels, where actually 2.26 is technically a control candle, but we've never retested this area up here, and we've hard closed it now for a couple of weeks. We tried to get there, ended up rejecting. Now, if these are to get a hard close, so say if we do have enough of a pump today and the weekly gets up over this 2.11, 2.12, it could quite likely move on to hit these 2.24s. And if we look across at the monthly resistance, that is about the range bracket. So if we were to come and retrace from the bottom of the distribution range and go up to sort of that 3.618, which seems to be something that happens a lot, then it kind of has confluence with doing those weekly retests. But I definitely be very careful the closer we get to that as far as rolling over and coming back down, because we've moved the trend today, so effectively it's a target, and we haven't gone to it to bounce up. What we're doing at the moment so far for what hours we've had in the day is we're going up. Now, if we're going up with a target, once we start to run into horizontal resistance, the rejection off that can bring us back down to this target, which is lower than today's opening. So that's where we're at there. And then if it closes next month on the other side of the trend, then the game reverses. So if you go up and hit a horizontal, see, refresh, come down and hit a trend. If you then open on the other side of the trend, the back side of the trend can then be used to break the horizontals and vice versa. So that's kind of why going up first isn't necessarily bullish. So, okay, what's got going on over here? Nice looking little pump. It's still got the resistances that it hasn't quite tapped yet. Weekly close for risk assets would be good to get minimum over the wick of this candle. If it wants to get continuation. And we did just, this is the kind of dodgy stuff you see on TradingView all the time. I've talked about this before because if we look at this in a month's time, this will be different. The candle structure will change. And you sit there and go, well, how the hell are you meant to trade with something if they literally move candles? But that level there is the level we needed to be over, and we were over it, and then somehow magically under it. Now, either this is going to end up above this level when this thing finally decides what they actually want the price to be, or this one is going to end up lower. Now, the ramifications of that is that if this one ends up lower, it's inside the hold, and this is a fake pump to reject down. Whereas if this ends up shifting up above this, then what that means is that this has actually got out of that hold, and then the pump is more sustainable. So that's the kind of rubbish that you see happening a lot. So if you're really looking at the price action, it's quite hard to make a choice when you see that. But it'll change, and then we'll know. What's going on here? It's a pretty big air gap. So I'm watching 93 on Sol at the moment. There's a couple of levels I posted in the Discord earlier today. So one of them, which is 93.2, it has got no other time frames attributed to it than a 1 day. And the other time frame I was looking at was 87. And 87 was a resistance on a 1 day, but it was not resistance on other time frames, which just sort of makes you wonder whether it can be recovered by an appropriate close of a higher time frame. So just been studying a wee bit of that stuff lately, looking at some of the older support levels that historically there's been a few instances where candles have closed underneath support, but we've then turned around and gone the opposite direction. And now with some of the data that we've got, we can actually see that it had only closed under support on some of the time frames that it was linked to, and it wasn't hard closed on others. So from looking at that, I've gone through and actually found that just about every single major breakout or move is attributed to a singular time frame piece of structure, which just doesn't exist. There's even some that don't exist on 1 days, but they just purely exist on bigger time frames. And I don't even know how that's possible, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. So 93.2, which is kind of up here somewhere. It's in amongst this sort of cluster up here. That appears to be one of the stronger resistance levels that's located throughout all of this. So it'd be interesting to see what happens if we push up there. What's ARK doing? Are we getting our ARK trade? Yeah. So ARK's approaching everything from the wrong side. So this is good. So maybe that 3668 level, if it keeps pushing up as part of the accumulation range, but we've now got a distribution range and a accumulation range just pushing into each other. If I had to take a guess, and it's purely a guess because I haven't really gone massively in depth on ARC, but if I had to take a guess, I'd say that distribution will win because we're coming from the wrong side of trend. But being a monthly trend, it's hard to say how high it would go. Even something like, because this trend here got broken today, shifting to here, even all the way up here wouldn't be abnormal. It would just be retesting a broken trend. So be interesting to see how high that goes. There's some other key structure just on the daily which we're watching as well. I say we because I share a lot of this stuff, but there is no we, unless anyone else is as obsessed as I am. But this is watching for that possible retrace into the daily range. That seems to be very high probability that we come back to the 3 if we breach the 4. So yeah, watching for that 4908 as a possible level inside the bigger levels. So we'll see how that goes. But it's in profit, so that's all that matters. I haven't bought Zeus yet. Very tempted, even though I hate it. But it's hard to hate the possibility of 1000% move. So this is the same probability as what this move in here would be. So it's just a lot bigger. Right. What's BTC up to? Yeah, we might get a, what's that, 4-hour close. See if they poke up above the range trend. No mistaking that we have got resistance when we get up to that 68 area, so really does it close over this area for the day and then continue. There was a 5-day long in here as well, which is played out now once it hit 68 and 80 cents or something, 68 and $80. So that's all done. And this is that weekly hits the 4, weekly goes back to the 3 thing. So relate that back to those poop coins, and that's kind of what we're looking for. But for BTC, the main thing is that we stay above this weekly origin, which, as you can see, it's on the line with 20 hours to go. So we'll see whether we close above or below. If we close below, that origin can break that trend, and then we come down to the prior lows again, at least, because it'll probably end up going down to that trend or the next break, maybe even straight through it, more likely down to these ones. So yeah, it's kind of, they could dump it tomorrow if they really want to based on the close, or they could do a bit more of a rally first. And this is the monthly range that we've kind of opened up in, which is 76 at the top side and 55 at the bottom. So we've got trend support, and we did close above the origin that created the last bear market. So slightly more in line with taking a push up. But as you can tell, we're just in the middle. And by the time the real bottom is in, we will have probably come down, tested these range trends and such. It may actually be why it's been such a steep, fast kickoff to the bear market, really. Like just the steepness of this range trend, to actually retest it without basically going to zero, it's kind of got to get there, because timing for a bear market would sort of be around September, October, and that puts it basically all the way back, full retracement, unless they do it quicker. And then it could hit these levels more around the 40k area, then consolidate for a bit, and then big positions get built and off they go into the next market. If the timing was exactly the same as prior markets, it would be heading down there to 13k. If it does head down there to 13k, well, you know why, because that's the timing, and that's where level 4 of the distribution matches the range trend. We shall see. Definitely a good place to buy it if it goes down there. But yeah, more likely in here. Right. Except on these market caps. So the market cap chart for Sol looks better than the normal weekly. And if this does that bounce between 4 and 3, gets us back up here to retest that 63 billion, which is a pretty fair place to retest. So everything's hard closed. It's the confluence with this origin up here, so yeah, pretty good place. If we have a rally, great place to stop, turn over and go lower. And next month we'll get a trend shift if this is still blue on the 3-month. Ooh. Let's see. Oh yeah. Dirty little 1-hour origin. Right, guess we'll see what happens. Daily hold. If this ends up closing tomorrow and flipping that daily hold, then it's gone up. But at this stage, it may have hit the resistance, 12-hour, 8. Not much there. We got you could watch for a 6-hour close over 3121. We got 4-hour. No. So there's a little level in here. So 4-hour close. Yes, please, coffee. 4-hour close over 3171. Could be something. Let's see. 13 minutes. Pampu pooper. What percentage is that? 18. Yeah. So that's an in-range origin, this little level through here, which is where it's hit. And obviously we had this origin level down here, which is the one it ran into. And then it's pumped up into the target. That's an 18% move in a 4-hour candle. So it's structurally just doing what every other token does. It's just doing it a lot faster because it's poop coin. Yeah. Oh, what's this one? Someone just pasted something in the Discord. Venice. Venice. Don't know what that is. Okay, definitely a pooper. Where is it? Oh. Yeah. Pop. It looks like that's left the station. So 246. This is where you need to be able to view these on the other time frames. That could actually be an engulfment, but it's not necessarily one you can work out from this. So it could be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But it just didn't close today according to TradingView, but it probably did close today. Could mean something like that. Or it could mean this rejects back to this. So, yeah, this is why we're building this dashboard thing, because there is a time frame in that. Just don't know what it is. Good morning. Go Zeus. Let's see, 8 minutes. No, doesn't look like it wants us to have the close above that level. Not this candle. What else are we up to? Yay, Bitcoin. Yeah, I can see one day that this thing is probably just going to be full of poop coins in that list. So these are all whole candles we closed inside of. So a lot of big shorts there that are starting to reverse. If you close inside the whole candle of a short, then typically you're actually trying to flip it. So much there. I guess that chart's really important. Ooh. Well, the fight's on now. So this is closed inside a hold above a really old range level, but below a newer one. Actually, what was today's close? We kicked off just after, didn't we? Yeah. Let's hope they give it a bit more continuation than this, but it could just hit this at 67 and then come visit our good old friend 56, which we've been waiting for a while. And somewhere over the next 34 days and 20 hours, it's probably going to do that. It's going to go up in here somewhere at most. Probably depends on how quickly the longs pile in. If everyone gets too bullish too quickly, they could just reject off that level. Wish I hadn't looked at that now. Do we have a trend? Oh, but that's not too bad. We got a trend. So now, guess we'll see. We're either going to lose 63,200 and keep coming down, or we're going to push up into some other resistance first and then do it. What else? So this is something I was looking at the last couple of days. Just finding, so most levels have got lots of confluence across various timeframes, and then every now and then you'll find one that doesn't. And I still have to do a lot of research to figure out how exactly that works, because you would think that you'd be closing a 1 day on the same day as a 2 day. But I guess if there's such an erratic shift in price at that particular moment on that particular day, maybe they end up closing differently. I really don't know. But what it seems to indicate is relatively key levels. Big breaks. So yeah, doing a bit more research into that. Hey Jake, how you doing? Yeah, I thought I'd do this one a bit earlier so I'm not absolutely dead tired at 3 o'clock in the morning. Maybe I can have a good night's sleep. Yesterday it was just I looked at the charts and I went, we're going to go down, then we're going to go up. I'll just put some orders in on supports and go to sleep, because there's going to be a whole bunch of hoo-ha and missiles flying and all that other stuff, and we're going to get the targets, but there's just going to be too much drama. So moral of the story is just wake up in the morning and we've got some good entries and prices going up, so it's all good. Yeah, it's not finished yet. So it was meant to be releasable in March, but there's going to be a big overhaul of this whole GUI, which there's sort of three people in behind this, and one of them's more the web based, and the other person's the doing all the data stuff, and they want to try and, I don't really understand it, to be honest. It's the kind of thing for me that I don't mind the complete complexity and geeky nature of it, because I can do all sorts of filters and navigate things, and some of the stuff I've found in the last few weeks just has really changed what I think the bigger picture of structure is all about. But I think the idea is to try and make it simpler, because it is not exactly the easiest thing to figure out. Like if you're going to use this and go, right, how do I actually decide on what to trade? You still really have to know 100% how to trade. All this is actually going to do is it's going to tell you, like, for example, that great little summary, last 1,000 events to happen. So you know that I should probably look at the 5-day chart. I should look at the 35-day chart. I should look at the 7-month chart. I haven't even considered looking at the 7-month chart. And then when we did look at the 7-month chart today, we find that we've got a trend. We've got a hold being established. We've got a close just over the trend, and then boom, price go up, which also made sense because we created this 5-day, which meant we could take a long, when it retraced into the 5-day, and then we could look at running it up to one of the potential targets for the 7-month. So that's the with taking your first TP here at the 5-day. So yeah, it just kind of gives you. It's actually the first 7-month candle that's ever closed down too, because it's created this break level at the previous low. So that means it's the first 7 months continuous downwards candle for it to have created that. Yeah, so there's going to be a big GUI overhaul and all that kind of thing, and hopefully, I know that I keep sending messages to the developers to add things, because I think there's other alerts and stuff that would be very useful. The responses are getting slower and slower, so I think they're getting tired. Maybe it was too much pressure to get it out by March, but it's it'll come. And then there's a bunch of other stuff which you get for TradingView, which sort of lines up with it. So you can use this to find the trades, work out the levels. Hopefully we'll make that simpler. So instead of you having to go through and actually identify the purity of levels, we can actually just have them ranked. I haven't seen the new GUI, but they're talking about kind of like a barometer thing, like a buy-sell thing, which might even be quite cool. But yeah, my job is basically to say this would be useful, this would not be useful. We need it to tell us about this. We need it to warn us about this. And most exciting thing ever is I can now do trend lines on timeframes that don't exist on TradingView, because you just can't do them properly on TradingView. The dates just don't line up. So it's pretty hard. Yeah, so if today kicks off that move to 74 to 93, then it's the first time ever I've seen a 7-month trend move that can be tracked over multiple years. It's pretty cool. And stuff like this, which you can just key a price in, which without having to filter through an absolute ton of charts. If this works, maybe not. Yeah, there we go. It's like 93,570. So just being able to key a price in and see every single thing that's important about that, longs and short holds, the different time frames. Whether they're still active, inactive, etc., or possible because they might be getting created into the future. And then a lot of the ones I've been watching lately, just trying to figure out what the significance is of these kind of minimum retraces that seem to be a pattern across the charts. So just taking the most current moves that have ever happened, finding the ones that have actually done liquidity sweeps of the tops or bottoms of their ranges. So there we go. So anything with a time in here has done a liquidity sweep, and then looking at the chart to actually see, has it gone back up yet? So this one hasn't done it yet. So we're still looking at a very high probability of hitting the $70,000 mark because we've done a perfect tap of the final part of the distribution range, and the probability of this then actually going back up here is really high. So it also would have told you that you could have longed this level and you'd be sitting pretty right now. So the other thing which I'm slightly excited about was they mentioned in the DMs today that there is a kind of one chart to rule them all thing that they are trying to wrap their heads around, which will somehow be able to show all these different levels, but it's there's kind of a link between the levels and the time, so both are important, and actually how to show that all on one chart. I've thrown some suggestions in that direction, but even I can't really think the most practical way to show every single thing on one chart at one time is. It's pretty hard. I think there'll still have to be a little bit of looking across a few different ones, but we'll see what the end result's like. So we may get a hold level closing in 6 days and 19 hours and 54 minutes. Yup. Lots of data. So I guess what we could end up with is some kind of tab in here that just has range levels once we start to track the way price moves between all of those. Oh, just done a refresh. At the moment, the data doesn't get refreshed every minute or anything, so they've just messaged me saying that they've done a refresh. Let's see. There you go. So once this thing's actually up and running, you would have got a notification that you've just smacked into that level. Let's see. So 87,670. So oops. User error. Doesn't need the 0. So this is one of the levels I mentioned in the Discord this morning, and the reason I was interested in this is it's different across the different time frames. So it's there as a origin, but it's not actually an origin across the higher time frames. So whether that actually gives it some kind of difference compared to the level that I was really watching for today is oh yeah. The level I was really watching for today is this one here. No? Yeah, doesn't need zeros. Okay. Which is a singular level. There's nothing else on that. So let's see today if we hit that level, and if we do hit that level, whether we get a bit of a rejection off that. So we're still a wee way away from that at the moment. What's this? I'm interested in your opinion on this. What leverage do you use if you only have time to do weekly trades? Very, very low leverage. Very low leverage. It depends if you only have time to do a weekly trade or if you only have a little bit of time to trade weekly, because they're very different things. If you're just taking weekly levels, you have to be very, very low leverage because the price can deviate through the level for quite a while, depending on the time of the week. And if you are taking, say you only have like 1 or 2 days a week where you could ever look at the charts, you're almost better just working out where the 4-hour chart is and just taking scalps on 4-hour charts than you are to actually try to take trades on weekly levels. And the other side of it is if you've got a really large amount of money and you just want to do bigger swing positions, then you have to become mentally capable of dealing with the fact that they might look negative for a while. And then if you're a full-time trader, the thing is you've got the time in the world to then get the refined entry on the weekly level with a larger position and then watch it go, and just sit back and not be too worried about whether it, starts to retrace a bit, because it's just natural and you've got all the time in the world to know why it's retracing, and it's not a big deal because eventually it will go to the weekly target that you're expecting. So don't know if that answers your question, but it's kind of the way I look at it. Lower leverage for really big swing positions, and higher leverage for smaller scalps, which of course mean tighter stop losses, which of course means the same amount of loss regardless. And that's kind of the point. Every single trade that you do it's really just about the amount of money you are willing to risk for the idea of the trade, and the amount of money that you're willing to risk is going to be the difference between it's going to be what you lose between your entry and your invalidation, aka stop loss. So if you're doing a swing trade, it's going to be a really big stop loss, and therefore you can risk less because it'll be the same dollar value of loss. Maybe that's what we should build into this. Leverage explanation. Where some of the reasons you'll see, like particularly if you trade on a centralized exchange, some of the reasons you'll see a lot of really high leverage positions and snapshots of them, etc., is if you've got a certain amount of money on the exchange and you don't want to put more on there, and you're in a really profitable position, what you can do is just dial up the leverage to actually free up the funds to then take other trades while you're in that really long-term position. It doesn't mean you actually entered it based on that leverage or risk in the beginning. It's just that the trade has moved through several stages. It keeps developing. It's well and truly on the way to its target. It's there's very few instances where you'll ever just magically reverse price and bash through a whole bunch of support levels in one hit. Like October 10, etc., are those events. And yet, all those really were just really big time frame rejections that no one really watches. And I think if you're aware of all that kind of stuff and you just keep moving your stop loss up, then you might use leverage as a means of just freeing up capital to open other trades. But I bet you none of those people started those swing trades on 100x. It doesn't work like that. What's going on? Pulling back. Well, hit the break level on ARC. We've got to see if this 4-hour candle closes over top of or not. Crossing. Let's per bar close greater than. Correct. And ignore. So 1-hour rejection. It's up to this hold here on BTC to actually try and stop the price from continuing down. So rejecting from an origin at 67.8, heading to the hold. Hold has to ladder the price or fail. And if it fails, it'll keep heading down. We've got this break retest to do down here, so that's not entirely surprising if it heads a bit lower. Yeah, first touch of range trend. Let's hit the break. And pulling back down. Would have been nice to get a bit more of a pump than that. Oh well. Maybe too many people chasing. There's a bit going on this actually. Ranges inside ranges. Amazes me the symmetry that you always get with these, like the distance between the tops and the distance between the lower levels. Let's see if that recovers. Yeah. That's kind of the minimum resistance on the monthly. Might be taking the easy way out. It's really too early in the day to know what the heck is going to be the longer term plan, but certainly if it reaches this trend, this new trend, I'll be looking to put longs in there. No new findings as such. Just the same old ones that it typically goes between the levels. What I really need is I need data on retracement timestamps, which is currently being built in. So once I have that, it'll be way easier. At the moment, I've sort of got to go through and just identify them manually and click on each one and check it. But once it's just all in the database, then you'll be able to just punch a number out, which gives you probability. And if the probability is really high, then it's worth doing further work into. I just looked at it on things like the daily for Sol, and it's a bit uncanny. So it also happens quite a bit on the lower time frames, like the BTC retracements on the 4 hours and stuff like that. But yeah, I was just looking at this and thinking, okay, this is a bit creepy. So big wick through, back up to the level, and then find the next one, which is this one. I mean, that went all the way back up to the top, but really it's not about being greedy and expecting this every time. It's about if this happens on a very high frequency, you can see that with the resistance there as well. But if this happens on a really high frequency, then you've got something you can just take a trade on and then make consistent money, then it's what you want. Same thing here. And so I just keep coming down with these, and then I got to this one, and as you can see, this one took a really long time and then came up perfectly to hit it. So at this point, I thought, well, there's probably something to this. Like, if you're building a position and you want to take another leg down, if you're going to take another big leg down, there is probably some kind of relevance between how much time is spent before the revisit as to then what might happen. But it could also be the fact that it just took a really long time to unload a position and then maybe it goes back up. So that's the kind of stuff we want all the timestamps around. And then it was going on down in here, obviously. Just that move in there. And then I don't know about this one. This didn't reach its level for a very long time. Yeah. So that hasn't gone back to 85. So that could be seen. I mean, it never actually reached down there before going all the way up there either, but that could be seen as a failed move. You need to investigate what structurally is different about this. Or we go back to 85 later and we go, oh, look, we've just ticked another box. And then this one. This did it just in that single candle there. And so out of all these moves, it's only really that little one in there that failed. And if we do get some kind of rally up into these numbers and then reject off 85, well, I guess we know why. There is also the potential that it did it, I suppose, inside that candle, which we'd have to look at. Don't know. Let's see. Oh, you got to be shitting me. Did it do it inside that candle? Ooh. Pretty close. Yeah, not quite. So yeah, you'd need to figure out what's different about this. Why did that not do that? So more testing. Maybe it is just the fact that there is no such thing as 100% sometimes, or there is just a really long drawdown period before you actually get the move, and how many times is that, and that will sort of determine what kind of leverage you can take or how long you'd expect a trade to play out and so on. So that's kind of where we're at with that at the moment. There's enough manual instances across charts and different time frames to warrant collecting the data and then figure out what the bigger numbers look like. Do we have any down in here? Doesn't look like it. Nope. But you got one in the other direction. So if it was to come to this, does it then retrace to this? Yeah, time. Time is a tricky factor. Yeah, and when it closes, I mean, just from the most pure simplistic form, if this closes yellow today, it probably comes here. But by the end of the day, it might be up here. And if it closes there, it might go here. But it hasn't hard closed this, which means it could come all the way back down here. So it's time is tricky. What's ARC up to? Oh, thank you, ARC. So if this does its retracement for the daily, it's up here. And I think if it does it based on, I can't remember what that level was. We're looking at the monthly. Yeah, so that's the left behind retracement on the daily. And our monthly resistance, it's already pushing up into it as we speak. So we're above the wick, heading towards the body, wrong side of the trend, bouncing off the long range first test of the hold, so range hold, down here at 2461. So being early in the month, it can keep pushing. It could tag this target, and then later in the month end up coming down and validating the engulfment and continuing down to dump. All very possible when you're dealing with the time factor that a monthly candle has a long time to go on it. Yeah, it's hitting the break levels repetitively, so it's above. Yeah, what's that? Wrong side of? Yeah. It's above a break level, come from the wrong side of that origin, but it's hit this one. See if we can get a close over there. Poop coin action. Did we get a 3618? 4. Question is, did it come all the way back and then go back up? Let's see. Yeah. Yep. Hits the 4, retraces to the 3. Once you see it, you just can't stop seeing it. Actually then goes even further down and then goes back up, but it's this is the thing that we care about. Then it completely obliterates that hold. So yeah, the flow-on effect of this might be discovering that holds that live within these brackets are going to get destroyed because it's a retracement rather than a reversal. That's the kind of stuff that could end up coming from this data. And then you know not to touch that move in there rather than close inside the hold and sneak out here on the reverse of it, which that's the reverse level in there, which almost came back to it, nearly, rounding error, and took off. Come on. Just give us like a 1 minute GOG candle on live stream. That'd be awesome. Do it. What else is going on? What's happening on X? Spammed a bunch of X posts this morning. And not much is happening on X. Oh, it's the same stuff. They need to make an originality filter for X so that it stops people from just pasting the same content. You just end up with a feed that's basically copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. Yeah, well, that's the kind of thing that might be correct. If there is a hold inside a particular range and you close inside the hold on, say, the same time frame as the range, then maybe that is actually the trick to establishing continuation. Most of the stuff that we've figured out over the years is just a case of you spot something, you spot it again, you spot it again, you go, this is a bit weird. You build systems to analyze it and give you the numbers and the data, and then you go, okay, we have peeled another layer of the onion, or just discovered another little thing in the matrix, however you want to put it. So it's constantly evolving. The trick is to try to make it into something that's simple and easy enough for people to take trades on. Yeah. Suppose I can delete those errors now. Well, it's hard close the range trend. See if it can push up. Fans are going nuts. High frequency algos are having all sorts of fun. Don't know if there's too much more to do on BTC or Sol until it either goes higher or lower now. It's either going to have to come up here and hit resistance and reject, or it's going to have to come down into support, then bounce up. And it's pretty early in the month to be taking a monthly level. Weekly close tomorrow is probably going to be the key thing. Just see if we can get out of this hold. That would be good. Stay over this trend. That would be good. And if we can create a new range in here, that'd be good. It's nice to see the markets moving though, at least. Looking at the positioning of this 3-month market cap too, there's really nothing to stop it coming back up there. So just opened under a trend, above a range trend, above 2 range trends. As this starts to get closer to closing, it's just natural for it to try and come back up and get back in between these levels. So there's a lot of signs of pump, and then if there's going to be a dump, what will happen is it'll just come up and it will settle where it opens on the wrong side, and then the next candle is the dump. So you may even have a bullish March. Could go for a bit. Guess we'll see. How long does it take, do you reckon, to get everybody convinced that we're not going lower? Because that's probably how long it'll go up for. That box aged well. Right. Well, unless there's a whole bunch of questions that people want to ask, I might go have dinner and watch some TV and wait for some alert to go off. Wait for that 93.2 level. See what happens when we hit that. And should probably see if there's any singular levels on BTC. Let's have a look. Where are we now? 67356. Broken origin touched on the 1 day. But it's multiple time frame. Broken break touched. So we've hit that. Oh, a long time ago. It's old, very old. Okay. So this is what I mean by these singular levels and how they seem to be relatively important. When they get broken, they break. When they reject, they reject. And then when they get broken the other direction, they pump. So it kind of makes you wonder, what happens if we recover that? Do we go up? Or is it not so important now that it's already been broken in both directions? It's already had rejections and pumps. These are the kind of questions we're going to try and find the answers to. I don't know. I mean, it's all about inducement. And the thing about crypto is they can run it up over the weekend. They can run it up for the rest of the day. And then they can run it down again very quickly before close. So, maybe if Monday's going to be a market-wide bloodbath, the idea would be to try and get as many people to open longs today as possible and then liquidate the crap out of them. In which case, when they liquidate those positions, they're buying them, and that basically means that the pump then comes after. So, yeah, some relatively big levels in here. What else do we hit? Yep, so that was a singular level. So we hit that. They're all old. 68449. Not singular. 68, 100. So you're more interested to see if we can get to these. So a daily close over that level would be technically a breakout type level because it only exists on a daily, so it doesn't exist on any other time frame. So all it takes is one daily candle over that and a move. So also the question is, does it reject? So that's about it. We'll see what happens at 68,665 if we push up to that, or if we close over that. Cool. See? Come on, 6 minutes, don't troll us. Get over there. Ooh. Got a couple new followers just appeared from spamming X. That's different. Dun, dun. Nice. Kind of run out of things to show people. Not doing much else now. This is that part of trading called waiting. Yeah, I don't really know. It'd be cool to get to 1,000 because it's a nice round number. Um, I mean, you don't earn anything really from YouTube unless you have an absolute ton of followers. I think it's just pretty pretty much keeps you busy more than anything else because there is just a lot of waiting time in trading, that's for sure. Somewhere along the lines, we might actually teach a few people how to make money. That'd be quite cool. Look at this bullish candle. 1 minute and 35 seconds to go, and it's going for that level. Let's see if it closes over it in the last few seconds or if it taps it and does a rejection beforehand. Little trolls. Yeah, it would be quite cool to, I suppose, have some big following, but then you've also got a lot of people actually then asking you 1,000 questions if you've got too big a following. Plus, I think it's kind of a almost self-destructive channel because if you actually teach people how to do it, they don't need to keep watching you. They can stop watching because they now know how to do it. Yeah. I mean, there's things I'd like to study about trends, but it's just really hard to get the data on trends. I do think that it makes sense that everything on the charts is just a level. So if something applies to one level, it probably applies to every level. So for example, if you create a trend, there is a first touch rejection. If you create an origin level, there is a first touch rejection. If you create a hold level, there's a higher probability that hold level will give a move on the first touch. If you close inside a hold level, it can reverse. If you close over the top of a trend, it's got the ability to reverse. You know, it's if you close over the top of a break level, it's got the ability to reverse. So it's all just kind of the same, and I think there's probably still a lot to be learned because then if that all applies, then what about accumulation and distribution back to existing levels? So if you have a trend that you touch and maybe the trick is not to take the trade on the trend on the first touch, but to take the trade on the trend that has been created and not been touched by the following time frame candle. Maybe that's the secret between which trends actually give the bigger rejections. Who's to say they don't just form like an origin level? And yes, there's lots of things I think could be studied and could be drawn from truly understanding how these algos make their choices because it's not human traders. Sure, somewhere along the line there's a human telling a system maybe that they want to see the price down here or they want to see the price up here, or or more to the point, maybe they just turn off an algo, like they just go, I don't really want to buy any more at these levels. I'm only going to sell at these levels. But the rest of it seems pretty much automatic. So what was this? This was the minimum obligation long on the monthly, I think. Should label them. No, we didn't hit the monthly. So that's the range candle move on the monthly. So it's probably worth taking some profit into that, because it kind of looks like what you'd get if you just swept out of all of this resistance. So maybe you sweep and then come back in. Cool. It's good. You're welcome. Just want people to make money, and it can literally be a all year round thing. It doesn't have to be because there's a bull market or a bear market. Look at little Mr. Pampy Pants. Unfortunately, being under that break level it's now, that's the 4618 of the daily short range right there. So it may even mean that there's more stuffing around, and then we might have to get a close up into that tomorrow to continue up, because I don't think we've had a daily. Yeah, we haven't had a daily close back up inside there since it was lost, so it may not be able to travel up into that. Oh, we just got an alert. Oh, we got an alert. This one. Really? Did we? Oh well. Premature alert. Oh, no jokes there. It's be interesting to see if it comes back. Let's see. Get it again. Maybe it's close enough. Rounding errors. Yeah, okay. We'll take that. Yeah, first touch premature alert. uh, Back to the poop coins. Crossing down horizontal ray. You really got to wonder about that, eh? It's up here, and it just triggered that alert down there. Right. This is the equivalent of channel surfing for traders. You just sit here and just flick through until you see something interesting. Oh, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Nice long wicks on the bottom of these candles. It's a pity that's not a yellow candle. Yeah, yeah, that's not that hard to do really. was thinking about doing something too on how to settle this up, because once once all of these things are available, it's probably worth showing people how to set up all the different things that you look at, because it's really the confluence between things like the Sol BTC chart, the confluence with the totals, the riskier totals, the risk totals. I don't look much at the stablecoin included totals anymore, because there's just too many reasons now to have stables that don't even relate to crypto. Um, so yeah, needing some kind of content, I suppose, to show people how to set it all up. Got to wait another 46 minutes now, and then another 46 minutes. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. 6 minutes. Let's see if it does a little sneak up over that. Yeah, like every morning, pretty much what I would do is I would look at, um, well, everything that's in the videos really, the Sol BTC chart, see how that is on the daily. Then, as we're getting close to the end of a week, I'd be considering the weekly, and of course, as we're getting close to the end of the month or the 3 month, I'd be considering those. And then I'd look at all the really big stuff just to see if there's anything really tricky that's closing. Uh, I'd also be looking at the safety assets to see whether they are trying to break to the upside or the downside. Totals. So if you've got totals looking to break to the upside, safety assets looking to break to the downside, strength shifting from BTC to Sol, and you've got a support level that the price is close to on Sol, you're probably going to be able to long Sol, and everything is going to point to the up, based on that combination. Um, and then if you've got, say, Sol breaking down, but you've got totals looking up, and you've got safety kind of neutral, and you've got BTC at support, you're probably going to be able to long BTC. And that's sort of about all there really is to it. And then when you get really bored, you look at Arc or Zeus or Hype. And of course, you can reverse it all as well. Um, and then the other tools, they really just give you the exact levels, and the exact TPs, and they add confluence, which of course adds confidence in what you're doing. And then we get to watch for stuff like this, random 80-minute charts because we're bored. See all the different fractal closes that happen intraday. 3 minutes for the 80 and the 160. And when you've got, auto drawing indicators, you can pretty much just flip between the levels. And bullish intent is when candles look like they're not going to break something or close over something until the last moments. And then when they do, just on the last moments, that's how you know that they're being sneaky. And it's all about getting people to take positions in the wrong direction and then at the last moment going the other way. Other signs of sort of bullish intention when it comes to things like break levels is candles that just keep hitting them. They open up, they hit them, they go down, they go up, they hit them again, they open the next one, they hit them. They just keep hitting them, because they don't want to make it into an origin level or a resistance level. They just want to delay, and that's people are going, oh, okay, we've got this really strong resistance there. I'll start shorting. What you've got is resistance that indicates continuation that's being continually tapped over and over and over. And then once enough shorts have opened, oh boy, does it go. So that's after a while, you sort of start to see how people can make choices that are not in their best interests, induced by silly little candles on a chart. A couple of guys in the Discord are just mentioned that Ark is cooking again. $32. What's it going to do? Tap, tap. Cheeky. So sneaks back over the daily range level, but closes under the break, but above the lower break origin. So this level down here, if you now get 80 minutes more yellow candle, this one down here can go for a good old run. And that then hits this. And if we get a blue candle in 80 minutes, then it's not breaking or hard closing. And if it doesn't tap, so you're looking for signs of bullish intention will be that this candle in the next 80 minutes does touch this break level and doesn't convert it into resistance. And 160. And the 160 snuck above the origin. So 160 more minutes of yellow candle and you hard close that level, which is scarily perfect with the daily level 4. They're the same damn number. Oh, poppy, poppy. See what happens now, right? What's the next close? Oh, 30, 38 minutes. What are we going to do for 38 minutes? Looking pretty bullish for now. Okay. See, so what's going on here? Just checking out what's going on X. Not much. Um, um, oh, this is Pampy. Good moment. Come on. 15-minute close. Pretty bullish. Keep going. Trading is waiting. Right. While we're waiting, do we have data on ARC? Oh, we do. So we'll poke around in here. Okay. So high probability longs. So these were all activated on the 27th and across a multitude of different time frames. All looks pretty confident. So what's that? Highest, lowest price? We've got 3619 through to 4367. So 3619, that's pretty close to minimum obligation there. It's nothing with a minimum obligation up to 4908, which is that retrace target we're thinking about. So it's a bit higher. But certainly in between these two points, there's plenty of confluence. You can also look at it like this and go, candles opened above these levels, so they might bounce this is now more bullish, but they can be diving these levels, so actually coming below this, grabbing liquidity to then potentially come back up to this. And these ones opened in here. So you can take that as the biggest possible bullish target from everything that's happening right now with these ranges. Probably narrow that down a bit actually. So that's your kind of top end of the scale. Got those. And then you just got minimum obligation targets. Oops. It does pay to check if anything closed below this level, which this one did open below that level, so that's kind of also brings that in as well. So that's kind of a range from first TP, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. See how it goes. I think it's I think it's probably going to be a pump and dump rather than a dump and pump. Pretty sure we bounced off a 7-month trend, which is big, so that's going to send the price up, but could be wrong. The beautiful thing about timeframes too is you never really know what closes tomorrow. It could be something bigger than 7 months. Ah, yeah. Yeah, it did sort of look a bit like they were taking some liquidity. I expected that this dump over here would have been kind of a good one to propel off, but they didn't quite break out of the range and continue. So bled down, took all the people that chased it from in this area. Off it goes. So quite a few closes, as you can see, in 23 minutes. So 72, 90, 2, 3, and 6. And it's pushing up. That's hard closing a break level. It's pretty bullish. Aiming for another one already. What else do we have there? 236. 236. That's sneaking towards the break in the origin. So it really needs to keep pushing a bit. It's not hard closing anything though, so you're always a bit trappy when they do this. Push through a whole bunch of levels and then one more candle that hard closes the lower levels, then dump. That's got its own range. Yeah, so that's got a level 4 there. So might get to see whether we go up through that, then come back down here. Mm. 3-5. 3-5-5-1. 3-6-1-9 seems to be the first high time frame level. Should play some background music, but I'll probably get a copyright strike. There was a thing that came up on YouTube the other day that said you're eligible to promote products and like feature placement. I thought that'd be quite funny. Just randomly flipping through charts and there's a can of Coke. This bullish candle likes Coke. Yeah. I'm doing this one sober and way more awake than usual. That's a glass of water I just put down. All right, how's that 15-minute close looking? Ooh, it's really fighting. $16 seconds. Hmm, that could have been a little better. So that's a good example of just a little wee bearish intention. Just went up above, pulled back down, closed underneath. So it doesn't look like we're getting out of there in this candle. Come on. $72.90. Okay. $10. See if we can get this to close up over that daily level as well. Kind of another little thing about, if you're trading, say, two or three tokens, but commonly just two or three tokens, you'll have a pretty good idea of where the targets are across them. So not only do you have your strength versus BTC and you got your totals, you got your risk assets, but you also have just an idea that we know roughly where the resistance levels are on BTC. We know roughly where the resistance levels and targets, etc., are on Sol, and we know where they are on ARK. So if all three assets that you actually have been watching, studying, taking trades on, or working out the levels on, if they all start to approach the levels at the same time, you've got a pretty good reason to take profits and be done, because it's kind of how markets work. They bob around and different ones go up and down, and but when they really hit a main level, they normally all hit a main level, the same sort of moment. Why do I think that is? Don't know. I guess it stops people asking questions. And let's face it, the things that people tend to highlight are the tokens that are abnormal. So during normal sort of market movements up and down, everything sort of runs together, and then if you want to drag attention to something, you get it to run differently. So I guess if they wanted you to look at long in arc the other day, well, they had it running very differently to everything else, and it went straight into high time frame resistance. And then as we drew close to, well, we ran into what, weekly levels, monthly levels, 3-month levels, and it was absurdly bullish compared to everything else at the time. So you can imagine there would have been a lot of people out there long in that right at the top, and then huge dump, and now it's just kind of behaving along the same lines as everything else. So I guess it's probably something to do with drawing you into open positions, and then moving on to the next thing. You can't really just keep wrecking people on the same tokens over and over again. They'll just stop trading them. You've got to let people have some wins and then wreck more than you let win. Yeah. I mean, a 6-hour close over a daily level doesn't really mean it's any form of daily move happening, but it's good to see that kind of thing, because if you do start to see more candles starting to open over the top of the higher time frame levels, then it's a good sign that they're wanting to keep moving up. Main thing is you want it to stay over that 3618, which it's creeping back towards as we speak. Yeah, it's not just price, it's price action. It's like when something just looks too bullish, it's probably coming back. When something just looks too bearish, it's probably going to reverse. But a lot of it is also indicated by, when did the candle open? Because like today is a absolutely perfect example of, we open not really in a good place, kind of in the middle of the monthly ranges, a lot of rejection above, and then we just pump. But we've done it so early that it's really, really easy for people to chase that. And then there's all this time, and they could chase it, chase it, chase it, chase it, chase it, turn around and come back down. It really just depends on how much liquidity they're trying to build up, I guess. Yeah. I was wondering if, because we don't have ARC in the new dashboard yet, I'm very tempted to ask them if they want to load it, but there's a lot of other things I think that are probably more important to get done first. But the it'd be really interesting to see what its singular structure is like. I can't report on that any other way, so it's I imagine a new token sets levels that don't have a lot of other levels associated with them, so everything would just be very instant. Kind of explains the really big moves you get. Um, or I guess if the theory is correct anyway, it explains the really big moves you get on newer tokens until they start to get a bit older, and then they have multiple associated timeframes with certain levels, and then everything slows down and gets a bit harder. So we shall see. It'll be one of the first things I look at. Let's get a newish poop coin loaded and then just start to see how its levels have been since it started. Yeah, I mean, Sui was the same. It ran and ran and ran and ran, and then got a bit older and didn't. Yep. The funny thing is, if you think about all the narratives that have been thrown out there, by influencers and such about the why this and the why that and the real reason for the pump and the real reason for the dump and all that stuff. It's just so much BS. Just the markets are wealth transfer devices. They are built to take money and move it around. So the rest of it doesn't really mean much. Banana zone. I mean, this cycle definitely was very different from the previous one. You can see it just in the raw structure of the safety asset charts. When you look at how they sort of moved up, created resistance, really big dump, but they went up and down quite smoothly. Whereas this cycle has been weird. It's like every few weeks you'd get a mini alt pump, and then people would think it's going to keep going forever, and then it would reject and come down again. Just a real choppy mess. But a lot of it was also just lack of new money. So it was very much a case of AI is the next big thing. So then the AI tokens are pumping, but at the same time they're pumping, the liquidity was just coming from somewhere else. Well, that's not a bad close for the 6 hour. Up inside the daily, up over the 3. No, it doesn't break records as far as creating trends or anything, but it's just not a bad horizontal close. 3 looks like. Yeah, 3 hours over top of the origin. Not a hard close, but still. Not bearish. 2. Yeah. So the only downside of all this is that they're leaving things behind to retest. Hourly opened just above the break. So we have 72. 72 hard closed the lower origin. So it's all pretty bullish price action. 15-minute ho-hum. Not great. Would have been better if the 15-minute was above these levels. But still not really bad in the scheme of things. Just doing what it's doing, which is fighting with all this resistance that's at the top of the range. Next is a 96-minute and 22 minutes. So the other thing you just watch for just on the lower time frames is let's see if I can find an example. Most of the stuff's actually pretty normal. Sometimes you'll get little quick resistance levels created. This has been playing pretty nicely. Yeah, so it's not really trying to create new resistance. Distance between the top of this blue candle and the top of this blue candle is quite important. Like if this second blue candle had wicked up above that one and then come back down, that's kind of creating just little in-range resistance, but it's not doing that. That's an example right there, actually, of this is the kind of crap you'll see on a chart. By crap, I mean structure. You'll see on a chart before you see a dump. It says second candle comes up above the first, and then it does it again there. Then you get that dump. So you watch for signs like that. If you're at key levels for mid or higher time frames and you start to see the low time frames start to do this kind of thing, then expect that that's going to go. Take some profits on the long and move on. And as we say that, there we go. It's not technically the same because it's not the top candle. It's got a really wick above that one, but so any candle now, blue candle that closes that wicks above this is doing the same sort of thing that happened in here. So that's where you sort of expect to see reversals coming. Same reason, that different scale, but different way of doing it, but it's the same way that this gets created as support down here. This wicks below this first candle, that creates it. And then in this case, it doesn't even give you an option to get an entry, it just takes off. So it's looking a bit like it wants to pull back on the low time frame. And it's got 18 minutes to choose whether it closes over the top of this origin. And at the same time, it'll hard close these lower break levels, and it hasn't retested them, so wouldn't surprise me if this thing rolls over. Yep, Sol's dropping, BTC's dropping. Let's see. So you can kind of see how this level has just been a daily level. It's just a problem for all these candles. They all just seem to want to pull back to it. But the more of them that close over it, the more likely that level will break tomorrow, if it doesn't already. Oop. Ooh. Got 11 people watching at the same time. It's a record since the market went boring. Come on. That counts as 2. Thinking about what to have for dinner. Just check where I've got my first TP. Might just take it at that 6-hour level. It's close enough. Yeah, I'm finally streaming when I'm not asleep too. All right, catch you later. What time frames we got to go? Yeah, there's quite a big gap in these closes after this one. So it's all just the same stuff, really. It's this 3376 daily resistance. And that's from all the way up here, this range. So it's just trying to get back into that range. Welcome. Might be trying to create a 3-minute origin here. Nope, touched it. So not this 3 minutes. Not 5 minutes, sorry, wrong chart. Yeah, it's created one on the downside bounce. Love it. See this? 2 candle range, 3, hold candle, origin creation, first touch, bounce, hold. You can see that exact same thing happen on a monthly chart. It just takes a lot of months. Whereas there's your 3-minute example of a scalp long, which on a poop coin is a 2% move. So if you had a long bias and you thought, okay, well, we're in a daily move, we're going up to a certain level, but I just don't have time to be in the market for a really long time, or you're just really risk adverse and you just want to make a couple of percent a day, you could buy that on spot and make 2% in 2 3-minute candles by just understanding how structure works and that everything is just fractal and trading with the bias. Like in this case, the bias was up. And you can kind of confirm your bias because you can see we keep taking these candles over the important levels for closes. So it's pretty good confirmation that your bias is right. And you can also, although the hold would probably reject it, your origin target would be the slightly higher target here. Retire on poop coins. 1 3-minute scalp at a time. So out of the 9 people watching, how many are just listening? Oh, sneaky. Closed above. Let's see if we can hard close it. Multitasking. Nice. Yeah, I'm thinking about what to have for dinner. It's my extent of multitasking. Nice. It's good time management. Ooh. It's coming back down. Right. Must be about time for this. Yep. 96-minute close, well above. 80-minute. Come on, just pop already. You've spent enough time up here. Come here. It's like snake charming. Come on. Give us a 1 minute close. You can do it. Oh yeah. Pop. No. how rude. You know, peak boredom has set in when you're watching 1 minute charts on poop coins, waiting for a 1 minute close above a break level. Oh, is that it? Oh, hard to tell. If this explodes, that's it. That might have been the close. I think that's, yeah. I'm gonna go hit my target now. Please and thanks. Or not. More waiting. Fractal boredom. What's that level up there? Hmm. Well, hard close level. No downside engulfment yet. Just do it. Come on. A little bit more. Twelve, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't stop. Can't believe I just fibbed a 1 minute range. For those that are actually watching these 1 minute levels give these tiny little supports and these tiny little rejections in real time, it really shows you how fractal these algos are. Don't you dare reject off the minimum. Oh, grr. See, create a range, go up, create a range to the downside, went down. Literally 1 minute minimum obligation moves. This thing's just entirely traded by algos. See, it just perfectly closes under the levels, rejects. Oh. Let's see if we get a retracement to that 3, because that would be very interesting. Good morning. Yeah. But I think I'm going to just take profit now anyway and then go and have dinner. 1 minute looks too bearish. All right, so that's first TP taken. It's close enough. Now we'll aim for here. And then there. Yeah, I don't know. I think that 7-month close today really does look like it could push the price up before down, but it's yeah, still a bit hard to tell. I think tomorrow it's going to be a lot clearer. They're either going to close the weekly above or below a key level and then Woompher. And we can have a move up into the resistance that exists on the higher time frame and then roll over and come back down once everyone is like, yay, the world is sorted and we're going up. Wow. got a good amount of likes on today's video, but not a lot of viewers. It's really really slow in crypto world, crypto social media world. The daily update video, that is. Yeah. All right. Food time. Come back to this later and spam the Discord with a whole bunch of charts. Thanks for watching. See you later.